Good morning, humans. Mr. Bell here with the second exercise we are doing for this unit. This unit is again called comics. So write that down in the upper right hand corner. That's comics, COMIC, number 2. Today is October 6th. And this particular exercise is called Different Views. That's DIFFERENT, Different Views, VIEWS. So do write that information up in the upper right hand corner. I've already filled in one of my frames. Remember, when a comic is divided into these boxes, it's called a frame. And notice that I have my frames as different sizes. For when you do this, you can fill it with however many frames you want, but I'm looking for this exercise for you to fill the entire page. And again, this says different views. That means that I want us to be thinking about drawing your character from different perspectives. What does it look like from the top? What does it look like from the side? What does the rest of its body look like if you just included just the head and his torso? So I'm going to start fleshing this guy out. Honestly, I haven't really given a huge amount of thought to what I want him to ultimately look like. And that's a good thing, because this is kind of where we're going to think about where he looks like. So if I think maybe, hey, you know what, maybe this person wants hair, I might add it in this. I might give it a little experience and see what that hair looks like. This is about drawing him and kind of fleshing him or her out to the point where, like, you know what this person would look like from behind or from the side, or you know what kind of shoes they're wearing or something like that. Still thinking about using these really simple shapes to make these characters. Make them as simple as you want or as complicated as you want. Just know that the more complicated you make these things, the harder it gets to be to draw them the same way over and over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to fill in this big box here with what I think would be maybe his whole body. What does this person look like? So I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to draw him from the side, maybe like he's laying down. So he's got his square head. We've already established that, and I like the square head, so I think I'm going to stick with that. And then he's got this kind of triangle body with the tip cut off of it right there. And then maybe it actually ends right around there. Maybe in this drawing, this is like the very bottom of his torso, and then legs will begin. Gonna make him sleeping this time. So I'm gonna curl his arms back behind his head. So I'm gonna have those disappear, and you're not gonna see his hands. And he's sleeping, which means his eyes would be closed. I'm going to represent those closed eyes just by that, and maybe he's got a little snore going on down here with his mouth, so you can see that. And then his legs just go down like this, and maybe he wears, I'm thinking that this fella is going to wear just socks to bed. Some comics keep the same clothes on the character over and over again. And that is, again, for that idea of continuity, recognizing it. Like if you have ever read like a Calvin and Hobbes comic, Calvin always wears that same striped shirt. And that's not because the artist Bill Watterson wanted you to think that Calvin wears the same shirt all the time. It's because that shirt is part of recognizing very quickly who that character is. So I think I'm going to stick with that for that one. Now I'm going to maybe run an experiment. I think this guy maybe would benefit from some hair. It might add a little bit of like a flavor to his personality. So I'm going to draw his head, and then draw his eyes just like I always would. And I think this guy might kind of have a neutral expression a lot of the time when I'm drawing him. So I'm going to keep drawing with that facial expression. I might change it a little bit as we go. And then I think, you know what? I think this guy's, like, looking at him, I think maybe he has some spiky hair. So I'm going to draw some just triangle shapes around his head to illustrate that he has spiky hair. You can make your hair any way you want. You don't have to have a hair on it. Remember, this is about experimenting and finding out what you really think this character should look like. Then I'm going to draw his body again. Can't forget his arms. Oh, hi. Yeah, I like that hair. I think I might stick with that hair with this character. I'm going to draw him now, only this time instead of thinking about just drawing his body, I'm going to draw a very close up of his face. When you're drawing comics, oftentimes when you show like a close up of a character's face, things get a little bit more detailed. You don't have to add detail really, but I think for this guy, I think it might add it. So I'm going to add his pupils, and then I'm going to draw little circles where his irises are. Because I feel like this guy was kind of maybe a little manic. I'm going to give some little bit of shadow into those irises too. And then don't forget his little mouth. But that's essentially the same face, right? So if the viewer is reading this and then they all of a sudden come to a part where it's a close up of his face, even though you don't see that square and you don't see the hair or the body or any other shape, you still recognize this guy as the same guy. It's because I kept those same shapes. I kept when I zoomed in on his eyes, I kept that idea of continuity and kept them the same shape. If I had drawn these eyes very differently than they were, then I think that I would have lost the viewer and they wouldn't know it's this guy. So maybe like I'm zooming in on his face because maybe in the comic he's really thoughtful at that moment in time. And I could put some text up here and stuff, which we're going to work on in a little bit, is working on adding text to comic books and adding talking bubbles and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these last 4 frames of this fella, trying to illustrate who he is. I think I'm going to draw one from like a side view. Maybe his hairline is receding a little bit. I'm kind of picturing that in my head for some reason. So this is going to be the side of his face. So we're only going to see the one eye, and then there's his derpy little mouth on the side. And then I think I'm going to continue with that hair. I like that spiky hair, but his hairline's receding just a little. And his whole head is a box. So, like, you can't see we never looked at the back of this guy's head, but I think that the back of his head is also going to be square, but it'll be covered up a little bit by his spiky hair. Then his chin would go right about there. Bam. And then I'm going to keep with that same triangle with its head, with the tip cut off. Only this time you'll only see one arm, too. Maybe you'll see the other one, but it would be on the other side of his body, like that. And then maybe add some hair here. Bam. Now I'm going to try seeing what he would look like maybe with his hair really receding. And now he's going to become a bald person. So I'm going to draw the shape of his head, keeping it that square. I'm going to add his eyeballs. This time I think I'm going to go a little smaller than I have been, just to see what that'll look like with this guy, like that neutral expression. Now I'm going to give him just some spikes on the side of his head, because I like that spiky look. I like using those triangles. I'm going to see what he looks like as a bald man. I'm not loving that. I don't know if I'm going to stick with that, but that's still a good experiment in that now I kind of know what I think he would look like if I made him bald, and I'm not super into it. I think this character is maybe going to be in his maybe, as I go forward, maybe like he's going to be like high schooler's age, maybe a little bit older, in his mid-20s maybe. I don't know. We're going to flesh that part out of it, personalities and stuff with our characters as we go forward. This is really just about experimenting with what maybe the main character in your comic will look like. As we go forward too, remember, it's totally fine if this doesn't stay the same and you change things pretty drastically. This is just getting started with this idea. Now I think I'm going to add... let me think here. I think I'm going to experiment with a different body type for him. I think I really do like this cut off triangle head for this guy. So I'm probably going to stick with that, but I want to see what he's going to look like if he was like maybe a big old fat dude with a round body. So there's his head. Now I'm going to just draw his body. I'm going to represent it kind of like a big long oval. Give him his face again. 2 circles. A line. Yeah, as I look at him, I think that my triangle body is going to work out better. Then that arm's just went off the edge. So I don't know if I'm going to keep up with that, but I am going to run one more experiment. Let's see what he would look like if I changed his head into a more triangle shape. And made his body the box, kind of reversed him. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to love this. But I wanted to see. Keeping those eyes the same. Yeah, no, I don't like that guy. He takes on a kind of a different personality. I think I like the spiky haired, kind of receding hairline guy. So, like, in my mind, I think that would be the direction I would go on with the next activities. Let's see what you guys come out with. I'm very excited to see your different characters you make today.